From the Wayne County Courthouse in Goldsboro, North Carolina, Wayne Goldsboro Television brings you the meeting of the Wayne County Board of Commissioners. The meeting begins shortly with an agenda briefing, then the regular meeting will begin soon after. Please stand by for the Wayne County Board of Commissioners meeting.
We're meeting for a briefing session. I'll take this opportunity to remind everyone that if you have your cell phones and other electronic devices in the on position, would you please work towards getting them in the off position? This morning, our invocation will be taken care of by Mr. A. Joe Gurley III. Sir?
Yes, sir.
Our pledge allegiance by Commissioner Joe Daugherty.
Yes.
Our minutes will be approved at the regular meeting.
Right. Right.
Okay. And Mr. Wood, if you want to take over right here at the discussion of the agenda, would you please?
All right. We have one thing to add. The NCACC has sent a video update. You know, they're doing that monthly. So we'd like to add that to the agenda. Under, Marcia would like to add that under new business. So that'd be number 5, under new business.
And that's a video.
That's right. And that's the only thing we have for an addition. We will need a closed session on 2 items, and so if once we finish this, we'd like to go ahead and move into closed session if we can early during this meeting. At 9:15, we have a public hearing scheduled. This is, like it says, it's on the Community Development Block Grant. It's the Catalyst Project. Mr. Dave Harris is here to discuss that with you. If you recall, you had asked us to look at, when one of the buildings wasn't completed, you had asked us to look at getting that money moved to where we could extend Love Drive further down, and that's what he's done. He's gotten approval for that. So we want to hold this public hearing for that. And Dave will be happy to answer any questions you have. I don't know if you want to do that now or at the 9 o'clock meeting. Okay. As far as any appointments, we have one. Do y'all go over that now, or you want to wait? You wait till then? Okay. Okay. Unfinished business. First thing we have, let me get to it. It's a recommendation on tabled Eastern Region Loan Fund allocations. This is basically the same as you had 2 weeks ago. As you recall, we had 6 items on there. You approved 2 of them that were time sensitive. These are the other 4 that were tabled. They're identical to what was recommended the week before, 2 weeks ago, and I recommend your approval of these. It's the Town of Pikeville for $45,000 on their utilities project. $966,000 would go to the Agricultural and Convention Center construction. $40,000 would go to the Town of Mount Olive for their railroad crossing project, and $34,000 would go to the Town of Mount Olive for the airport road relocation project. This would completely allocate this money out. So unless somebody did not use some of that money, which we don't think is going to happen, we think they're going to use it, this would allocate all the money out on this Eastern Region Fund. Anybody have any questions on that? And you'll see behind that, Pam has with that the budget amendment to do those 4 things. So as the motion is made, if you make a motion to approve that, please, whoever makes it, please include in your motion to adopt the budget amendment as well.
Very good.
Okay. The next thing under consent agenda is simply establishing a meeting of the Wayne County Board of Adjustment to hold a public hearing on a request for a special use permit for proposed solar energy facilities. Chip will be here, but basically what it is A special use permit requires that it be issued by the Board of Adjustments. As you know, you sit as the Board of Adjustments, so you're calling the hearing for that for the next meeting. At the next meeting, we'll recess the current meeting, and you'll go into session as the Board of Adjustment for that one item. Okay. Budget amendments, Pam's got some minor budget amendments in there that are under the consent agenda. Following that is a resolution amending the position classification and compensation plan. I think it's self-explanatory, but I'll be happy to go over it. Basically, when we were establishing the fleet maintenance operation this year, as you know, we set that up as a separate enterprise fund. I had the HR director, Geraldine Lee, go through and survey what rates of pay should be. We put those in place, and frankly, we forgot that we had, at the landfill, we have, solid waste has its own fleet management people because of all that heavy equipment. You can't bring that into town to work on and that sort of thing. Those did not match up with what we had done with the others, so what we're doing here is matching those up with what we've done on fleet management. And that's the reason for this one change. Anybody have any questions on that? And as y'all recall, any changes in the pay plan now have to be done by resolution, so that's why it's in resolution form. Okay. Under new business, you have a motion to approve Allen Court Manor Mobile Home Park, Section 3. This is pretty straightforward. It's just doing the preliminary plat. The planning board is recommending approval. And again, Chip will be here to answer any questions you may have. Oh, okay.
It's a Section 3 to Allen Court Manor Mobile Home Park. It's an expansion, lots 51 through 72. It's 22 lots on 5 new streets. This is in western Wayne County off of Whitley Church Road. The area in red is highlighted as the new expansion area. This park is in compliance with the Wayne County Mobile Home Park Ordinance. And he has, Blanchard and Associates has designed this preliminary. If given approval, then he can proceed with construction of the streets and his infrastructure. The roads, a lot of questions, the roads are gravel, 20-foot width, 4 inches of depth, fire hydrants, water lines, street lights, street signs, those types of things. The planning board recommended that it be approved. It's already been approved by them. Any questions?
Thanks.
Okay. Next thing is a motion to approve a Purple Heart resolution. Bill, you might want to go over that. And the next thing after that is the 2 big items on the agenda. Number 3 is motion to approve a resolution approving an agreement regarding the use of the proceeds from a 1% countywide room occupancy tax in Wayne County, North Carolina. This is the interlocal agreement between us and the town of Mount Olive. I'm happy to report to you that the town of Mount Olive approved this resolution unanimously last night, and the town manager called me last night to tell me that.
So, Mr. Wood, any editorial you think may be appropriate, just, to enhance the whole, nothing specific, just when that time comes, anything that you think would
Okay.
shed light on for the public.
Sure, I'll be glad to. I'll go over it in some detail then. Okay. On the next one, as y'all know, we had negotiated, several of you were involved in a negotiation with the town of Mount Olive on the utility cost at Steele Memorial Library. This is just a simple interlocal agreement here, memorializing that agreement. And my understanding is it also passed last night. So Mount Olive's in agreement with it, and we're ready to go with it. And that is the items we have on the agenda. Like I said, we'll add the NCACC video as number 5 under new business. We do need to, as I said, go into closed If y'all are in agreement, we can go ahead and go into closed session now.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to go into closed session.
All in favor of going to closed session, show of hands, please.
Oh,
It's for the expansion of industries and businesses in North Carolina and for land acquisition.
Good morning, good morning. It's August 4th. It is time to do the business of Wayne County. Good morning, glad you're here. Please let me remind everyone that if you have a cell phone or some other electronic device, please cut it off. Make it quiet so that it doesn't ring. This morning, we're having the invocation by Mr. A. Joe Gurley. Third.
Thank you. And it's my pleasure this morning to introduce our guest, Mr. Mike Waycock, to come up and deliver our invocation. Mike is married to Judy Anderson. They've been married for 49 years. They have 3 children, 5 grandchildren. Mike's retired from crop production services. Have 32 years in the industry of that. He's currently the chaplain of the Wayne County Farm Association. He's held that position now for 8 years. Michael is also currently the chairman of the planning board, and Michael served on the planning board now for 8 years and getting into short rows there. Michael also is current chief of Little Road Fire Department, where he served now for 20 years and been a member for almost 50 years. And is equally important, or more importantly, Michael, other extracurricular activities, he sings in the gospel group Legacy. And he's been singing with Legacy 23 years now. Total singing of gospel 41 years, and Michael says they sing in North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and anywhere else you call them to go. And Michael, thank you, and appreciate you being here.
Oh, you sure you're talking about me?
I'm talking.
My wife says I don't know how to say no, and that's about right. But I think it's an honor to be here. It's an honor anytime I stand up for my Lord and praise His name. So let's pray. Father, we thank you for your love. We thank you for your mercy. Dear Lord, we just ask you to be with us today, be with these men as they take care of the business of Wayne County. Dear Lord, just help them to do it for the citizens of Wayne County and do what's right. And we just ask you to be in all of it. Be with us as we go about our daily duties, dear Lord. We, for the ones around about us that might not be with us this morning for some reason, some sickness or some disease, dear Lord, we just ask a special blessing upon them. Be with us now. Lead us and guide us in whatever you'd have us do. In your name we ask. Amen.
Amen.
We will have a pledge of allegiance led by Mr. Daugherty.
Please join me in honoring our country by reciting the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a motion to approve the minutes for July 21st, 2015. All in favor, please raise your hand. Mr. Wood, would you lead off with discussion of an adjustment of the agenda, please?
yes, sir. The only change would be under new business. We'd like to add item number 5, which is an NCACC video. It's the monthly video that they send to us. I think it takes, 7 minutes or so?
Are there any other adjustments or any additions by any member? If not, Mr. Wood, we have the 9:15 a.m. public hearing. Do we?
I
Some
think
minutes away
legally
from
we
that.
probably need to wait till 9:15, so we probably need to move down through the rest of the agenda.
All right. We have the appointment committee, Mr. Gurley.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have one committee recommendation. Appointment committee would like to recommend Mr. Stephen D. Pete Benton to the planning board, and I'd like to put that in the form of a motion.
Heard a motion by Mr. Gurley. All in favor of that appointment, would you please raise your hand?
Mr. Stephen D. Pete Benton.
All in favor, please, raise your hand. Any opposed? Does that conclude
That concludes.
the appointment committee? We have an unfinished business item. A motion to approve table recommendation on revised allocation of remaining North Carolina Eastern Region Loan Funds and budget amendment. Mr. Wood, do you have some comment?
Yes, sir. At the last meeting, we had tabled these 4 items. These are the last 4 and it would fully allocate out the Eastern Region loan money that we received. We received a little over $3 million. Most of it has been allocated out, but this allocation would be $45,000 for the town of Pikeville for a utility project, $966,000 for agricultural and convention center construction, $40,000 for the town of Mount Olive for railroad crossing project, and $34,000 for the town of Mount Olive for their airport road relocation project. These are identical to what was on the agenda 2 weeks ago, and I would recommend their approval. Also, with that is the budget amendment that's necessary to put this in place if you agree to do it.
You heard Mr. Wood's explanation of this particular item. What's the pleasure of the board? Motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the allocation of the recommendation of the Eastern Region Loan Funds as well as the appropriate budget amendment, which is budget amendment number 49.
You heard the motion by Mr. Doherty. All in favor of that particular
Mr.
item,
Chairman.
please? Any discussion, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have a question. Just for my understanding, we are using up all the Eastern Region money, as you said. For example, if another municipality or entity needed some money, could we still use some of the agriculture and convention center money, because it's going to be a couple of years before that's used? Is that correct? What I'm interested in is that if someone like Seven Springs or Fremont Pike with Eureka comes up and needs some funds, can we accommodate them? That's what I'm asking.
You could, as long as the money hasn't been spent. The board could always change its mind. So the answer is yes, you could. I will say, we've had that money now for almost 18 months, and we have made repeated offers to them to use the money. And these are the final ones we've had. We've already allocated some out, as y'all know, to the city of Goldsboro and also to Mount Olive. We had some for Eureka, but they turned it down. We originally were going to use some for Fremont Sewer, but they came up with a state revolving loan fund, which was a better deal for them than this. So somebody may come up with that, but I would say at this point it's doubtful. At some point, we do need to lock down this agricultural money, because we're trying very hard to get it nailed down as to how we're going to pay for it. But to answer your question, yes, until it's spent, if this board decided it wanted to go back and reallocate any portion of this that hadn't been spent, you could do that.
Well, the case you were referencing to with Fremont, that still has to be applied for. They haven't gotten that. So what I'm asking is that there could come a time where a municipality may need some of this money, possibly. Because that's one of the reasons why we got in all this Eastern Region money, is to help different areas of the county. So I'm a little bit concerned about not having any reserve at all, even to $100,000. We are paying on this $966,000 for the Agricultural Convention Center. We're making those payments, the county is anyway.
Well, and that's the point I was going to make, is you're paying the interest on it and repaying the loan, so we need to use the money.
Right, and if it's shifted in any way with the approval of the board to a municipality, for example, then that means that we would have to try to make up the difference on what we have allocated for the agriculture and convention
That's right.
center. And what I'm asking is that a possibility? I'm not saying that we can do it.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
possibility.
All right.
Can I address this? The way the budget amendment is written right now is that,
Yes, you could change your mind. If we pick it up and we transfer it back to the Ag Center, which is in a capital project fund, then you can't change your mind. The budget amendment does not include a transfer back. But if we go ahead and transfer the money to the capital project fund, then no, you cannot change your mind. As long as we leave it like it is, it can be changed. But once it's in that capital project fund, it's allocated for that purpose.
And when is that anticipated to be?
Well, that's how the amendment's written. I had forgotten it goes, when you put it in a capital projects fund, you can't move it again, is what you're
Yes, sir,
saying.
but the budget amendment does not include, we don't have the budget amendment transferring it back. We just have the budget amendment here allocating it for that project, but we have not moved it to the capital project fund with
Well,
this budget
Why don't we
amendment.
move it all but 50,000, because that's what they originally asked for.
That would- is
In
that-
other words, you approve it as is, but she would only move, instead of 966,000 going to the capital projects fund, she'll move 916,000 and leave 50,000 unmoved.
Yes, sir, but y'all, you need to approve the movement of that money also. The 916, if you want to do it that way.
Did y'all complicate my motion?
Do we need to add an amendment, or do we go ahead and vote on this as it stands? And then,
That's up to y'all.
Well, Mr. Chairman,
Well, Mr. Dodd.
could I clarify? As it stands now, we are not separating and putting into the capital improvement plan the 966. So at some point, we will transfer it over, and if Fremont does have, or other municipalities has some request, then hopefully that will be addressed prior to us moving it over to the capital improvement plan. So it's still flexible at this point.
Yeah, and what Fremont wanted was 50,000, so what I'm suggesting is go ahead and move 916,000 of it over and leave 50 unmoved. And that way, if they come back, but my understanding from Barbara and their engineer is that the SRF loan is while it's not approved, they feel very good about it. So we just have to wait and see, and they'll know shortly on that.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, like I said, I like that idea, because they do need some help. I like to help them, but yet I don't want to keep chipping away at this budget, because this is money that's needed for this convention center.
Right.
That's just my comment. But I'd go along with 50,000.
Let me amend my motion that we that we leave 50,000 as undesignated and reduce the amount for the Ag Center to $916,000
And approve the transfer.
and approve the transfer. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
All
Thank
right.
you.
We've heard the new motion by Mr. Doherty. Without any other discussion, all in favor of the new motion by Mr. Doherty, please give me a show of hands. Any opposed? None. We are at the little beyond the 9:15, and we have a public hearing scheduled this time. We have to go to
If you'll go ahead and open the public hearing, then I'll ask Mr. Harris to step up and give you a presentation on it.
the public hearing is now open.
Mr. Harris, you want to give him an overview?
Good morning. Several months ago, we were looking at closing out our scattered site community development project, and the board directed us, based on some citizen input, to take a look at our Love Drive project to see if we could not go ahead and extend Love Drive to paving. further. And so we backed off and had some communication with the state, and the state met us halfway. We'd initially requested additional funds so we could take it to the end of the subdivided plat that is already there. Let's just go ahead and finish the road right to the very last subdivided lot. The state said no, they wouldn't allow us to do that because technically it's undeveloped and there's not anybody that's being served. But they did agree to allow us to use the remaining funds that we had to extend Love Drive to the last group of houses. And in fact, that's the request that had actually come in. So we pushed it as far as we could to try to get as much street construction for the county's program. And what we have left is we're able to get what we really needed, and that is to extend it to the last cluster of houses on Love Drive. The purpose of the program amendment, now we have that in writing from the state director, but the purpose of the program amendment, the process is if you're going to extend a boundary of a pre-existing project, you have to go through an amendment process and identify the activities and the people benefiting and that sort of thing as part of just the amendment to the regular project. So we're now putting into place, based on the state's preliminary approval, we're simply putting into place the mechanics of fulfilling that objective. And that is going to be this public hearing. We'll prepare all the necessary paperwork, documents, et cetera, that's normally associated with a program amendment, with the end result being we'll extend the Love Drive paving construction to the last cluster of houses on Love Drive, so everybody on Love Drive will have a paved road. And the only action board would be simply a motion authorizing the submittal of the program amendment to extend the project area boundary. And along with that, obviously, the funds that were remaining out of the housing improvements that we completed is we transfer those into street construction because that's our last item. That's kind of goes hand in hand. That's where the money's coming from.
Do you have a rough estimate of that money?
The remaining funds is a little over $90,000. It'll all be for street construction and obviously the corresponding drainage and so forth, but it's for the street construction paving of Love Drive to the last houses on Love Drive.
So then, what you need from us this morning is,
Simply, after the public hearing, if the board so approves, simply a motion authorizing the submittal of the program amendment to the state to extend the boundaries.
need to come out of the public hearing.
You need to ask the public, see if it is.
Yeah, it needs to be put.
This opportunity is open for the public to make any comments at this time about this particular project that we just discussed relating to Love Drive. Having heard none, this public hearing is closed. And we will address the need for an amendment.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
and I hope I say this right, I make a motion that we allow the program amendment to extend the boundaries and the additional dollars to be moved over to fund.
Are there any other discussion? You.
Go ahead.
No, I reverse that. You've heard the amendment. All in favor of this, please give me a show of hands. Any opposed? Okay, Mr. Wood,
The next items are the consent agenda items. There's 3 of those. We went over them at the 8 o'clock meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move adoption of the consent agenda.
you've heard a motion to adopt the consent agenda as it's laid out. All in favor of this consent agenda, please give me a show of hands. We are at the stage of the new business. Our first one has to do with a motion to approve Allen Court Manor, Mobile Home Park, Section 3 preliminary plat.
Okay, yes, sir.
Chip.
Allen Court Manor, Mobile Home Park, Section 3 preliminary. Owner developer is Allen Court Manor LLC, Mr. Donnie Allen. Surveyor was James B. Blanchard and Jim Blanchard and Associates. It's located in the Fort Township off Whitley Church Road. Contains lots 51 through 72. The park development is the third section to the park. It's 600 feet north of the intersection of East Evans Road. You can see East Evans down there to the south. Section 3, it does consist of 22 lots on 5 new streets: Jonas Drive, Clarabelle Drive, Teresa Lynn Lane, Dempsey Drive, and Caruso Drive. The streets in this mobile home park will be private streets. Access to Section 3 will be from Austin Drive, an existing one of the streets that exists in the park already, which is entrance from Whitley Church Road. The property currently is not zoned. It is within the urban transition area on the Wayne County Growth Strategy map, and it's currently vacant land. It is within the Rosewood High School, Rosewood Middle, Rosewood Elementary School districts. It's in Fork Sanitary Water District. It'll be serviced by Oakland Fire Department, EMS Station 2. It is within the RPO area for transportation planning. It is within a water supply watershed. There are no voluntary ag districts present, no wetlands, and it is in Commissioner's District 4. Division 3, Section 42-110 of the Mobile Home Park Ordinance requires that every mobile home park within the jurisdiction established, the developer must submit a plat which shall be reviewed by the planning board and then consequently approved by the commissioners. Recommendation: the county planning board recommends that the mobile home park plat be approved.
Are there any other questions of any member of the planning board? Gentlemen, you've heard the discussion, you've heard the explanation. What's the pleasure of this board?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. All in favor of this particular motion, would you raise your hand? Okay. Any other discussion? Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Item number 2, motion to approve public heart resolution. I think Mr. Pate's going to speak to that.
Yes, sir, I'll take care of this for us, and I want to welcome several of our members of our local Purple Heart group to be here with us today, and I think after we get this done, Mr. Brewer's got a few words to say to us, so welcome. Whereas the original Purple Heart, known as a badge of military merit, is the oldest military decoration in the world in present use, and whereas the Purple Heart was established by General George Washington on August 7, 1782 during the Revolutionary War, and the first award made available to the common soldier to recognize outstanding valor or merit. And whereas following 150 years of disuse, the Purple Heart was reestablished by the President of the United States on February 22, 1932, and whereas the Purple Heart is awarded to military and civilian members of the U.S. Armed Forces who are wounded by an instrument of war in the hands of the enemy and possibly next of kin in the name of those who were killed in action or die for wounds received in action. And whereas the citizens of Wayne County have great admiration and utmost gratitude for all the men and women who have served their country in their armed forces, and where veterans had paid the high price for freedom by leaving their families and communities and placing themselves in harm's way for the good of all, and whereas many citizens of our country and state have earned the Purple Heart as a result of being wounded while engaged in combat with enemy forces, construed as a singularly meritorious act of essential service. Now therefore be it resolved that the Wayne County Board of Commissioners does hereby honor the service and sacrifice of our nation's men and women in uniform wounded or killed by the enemy while serving to protect the freedoms enjoyed by all Americans. Now therefore be it further resolved that the Wayne County Board of Commissioners commends the Board of Directors of the Goldsboro Wayne Purple Heart Foundation honoring the Purple Heart recipients at its annual banquet on August 7, 2015 as a special tribute to those service members who have received their Purple Heart, adopted this 4th day, August 2015. And that is in the form of the motion, Mr. Chairman.
We have heard the reading of the resolution and a motion by Mr. Tate. Are there any other discussion or comment? All in favor of this motion, would you please raise your hand? Opposed? Thank you very much.
And Mr. Brewer, did you want to have a few words to? All of you come up. But if you need to go to the mic, if you will.
First of all, we'd like to thank the commission for approving the resolution. And we have something we'd like to give the county commissioners. We have a plaque here that we would like to present in recognition of the support that we received from the county. And this is given through the Chapter 657 Military Order of the Purple Heart. And we'd like to present it to the county.
Can we come down and get a picture?
Where do you get your plaques? That's a nice plaque.
So I'd like to present this to you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'm Bill Boyd. I'm chaplain for the Department of North Carolina Marine Corps League.
Jim Brewer, Vice President of the Wayne County Veterans and Patriots Coalition.
Danny Johnson, also a Vice President of Wayne County Veterans and Patriots Coalition.
Floyd Jones, Judge of Chapter 657, Purple Heart.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
See you Friday night.
Okay. We're down to number 3 in new business. Motion to approve the resolution approving an agreement regarding the use of proceeds from a 1% countywide room occupancy tax in Wayne County, North Carolina. Mr. Wood.
Mr. Chairman, as y'all know, we've been working on an agreement with the town of Mount Olive on this. Chairman Aycock, Vice Chairman Cromartie, and Commissioner Gurley met with representatives of the town of Mount Olive last week and worked out a proposed agreement on this distribution. And I'm happy to report that this passed the town of Mount Olive last night unanimously in their board meeting. So what you have before you is a resolution approving an attached agreement regarding the use of proceeds from a 1% countywide room occupancy tax in Wayne County, North Carolina. And the resolution would become effective immediately upon its adoption and the levying of a 1% countywide room occupancy tax by the Wayne County Board of Commissioners. Once we have this agreement in place and the local bill passes, there's still 2 more steps to this process. The first is that you've got to actually levy the tax by resolution. And we're in the process between the county attorney and I preparing that resolution. The second one is, and we'll do that simultaneously, is you need to, by resolution, create the Wayne County Tourism Development Authority, which is a separate authority. After you create it, you'll make all the appointments to it, and they will administer the 1% tax, subject to your direction on that. So the agreement, I'll skip all the whereases, but basically let me read the pertinent parts. Under paragraph 1, this is what's been agreed by and between the county and the town. All proceeds from the proposed 1% countywide room occupancy tax shall be turned over to the County Tourism Development Authority as required by the local legislation, and the county's finance director shall be the ex officio finance officer of the authority. That is actually in the proposed legislation. Number 2, 70% of the proceeds from that portion of the 1% countywide room occupancy tax which have been paid to the County Tourism Development Authority by any lodging establishment inside the corporate limits of the town of Mount Olive shall be held as reserve funds in favor of the town until such time as the town submits a request to the County Tourism Development Authority for the use of a portion or all of the funds for the promotion of travel and tourism within the town of Mount Olive. Any submittal of a request for funds from the town must be documented as a legal use under county's room occupancy tax local legislation and substantiated with invoices, contracts, or similar evidence of valid expenditures. The reason that's written that way is we have to go through an audit of these expenditures, so they need to provide us with invoices just like we'll have to have them on our portion of the tax. Paragraph 3, it is expressly understood and agreed that the town will not be eligible for any funding from the existing 5% room occupancy tax levied by the city of Goldsboro on lodging establishments within the Goldsboro corporate limits, as no lodging establishment in the town of Mount Olive will have paid any of that room occupancy tax. Number 4, the town shall provide timely and sufficient information to the County Tourism Development Authority for the authority to complete its quarterly and annual finance reports to the Wayne County Board of Commissioners as required by the local legislation authorizing the 1% countywide room occupancy tax. And then this agreement becomes effective from the date above and will remain in effect as long as the county levies a 1% room occupancy tax. This interlocal agreement is authorized under NCGS 168-460 through 466 and must be approved by written resolution of both governing bodies. It will be governed by and interpreted under the laws of the state of North Carolina, and it may only be amended by mutual agreement of the parties, with said amendment being approved by further resolutions of both governing bodies. And then this agreement represents the entire agreement of the parties, and neither party may rely on any other considerations or understandings not set out in this agreement. So that's basically the agreement. I want to stress, so that we're clear about this, we have, I believe it's 11 motels in the city of Goldsboro. They currently pay the 5% hotel motel tax or room occupancy tax that Goldsboro imposes, and that goes to their travel and tourism board or council. There are no motels in Mount Olive or anywhere else in the county that pay that because that's a city-wide tax, not a county-wide tax. So those 11 pay that. The only hotel outside the city limits in Wayne County is the Sleep Inn in Mount Olive. So this agreement affects that the proceeds from that one hotel. So what we're saying is they would get 70% of the proceeds that come from that hotel or any future hotel that may be within the corporate limits of Mount Olive would go to the town of Mount Olive. So in essence, what we're saying is the town of Mount Olive is agreeing that they will do their own marketing with this money. And the other marketing money, which is the bulk of this 1%, as well as the amount that is raised by Goldsboro as we amend our agreement with the city of Goldsboro on how to spend that 5%. Because if you remember, our agreement with them was 2% to us, 2% to them, and 2% for marketing. So what we would do with Goldsboro is amend our agreement with them to say 2% comes to the county to build and operate the agricultural and convention center. 2% would go to the city of Goldsboro for its tourist-related projects. The biggest one being, of course, their soccer field complex out at the base, but also other projects of theirs. And the 1% of the 5% would go for marketing. So then when we come along with this other 1% of ours, that will give the marketing piece the full 2%. So we will carry out the intent of our original agreement, but because we originally envisioned we would have a 6% city tax, we'll need to go back and amend that agreement to reflect that. And then at that point, I think we're ready to proceed on. But we will need to get that amendment before you, and we'll be getting with the city manager and the city attorney, and Borden and I will be getting with them and go through that agreement, get that prepared for you, make that agreement, and then I think we're ready to move forward. So, and the legislation gets passed, yes. So this agreement with Mount Olive should clear the way now for that legislation to get passed, because the holdup had been they wanted us to work out an agreement. If you vote affirmatively on this today, then we have done so, and we'll be ready to go at that point.
Gentlemen, you've heard the explanation of this agreement by Mr. Wood. What's the pleasure of this board?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Spade.
question, do we need a motion for both the resolution and the interlocal agreement?
No, the resolution references the interlocal agreement.
We just need
it approves the interlocal agreement.
So we just need it on the resolution?
That's correct.
Okay, so moved, Mr. Chairman.
You've heard a motion by Mr. Pate. Are there any other discussions, Chair?
I just have one question. The resolution that we're getting ready to vote on, I just want to be clear, is that this agreement with Mount Olive, I hope the people that were involved in this negotiation understand that this may set a precedence for other motels, hotels that may be built outside of the city limits of Goldsboro. If you remember, we have interchanges in the future that's going to be developed, so I'm hoping that this is going to be acceptable for future development of motels and hotels. Just something to think about. I hope that was taken into consideration as this agreement was reached. Just a comment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, let me address that. The way that would take place in the future is, this is an exception for Mount Olive only. So if another motel is built anywhere in the county, whether it's inside Goldsboro or outside Goldsboro, anywhere except Mount Olive, that money will go into the county, which will then go to our the Wayne County Tourism Development Authority to spend on countywide marketing.
The question is that fair to the rest of the county? What's fair for one should be fair for all.
Well, there's no other existing motel.
I know, but the key is that you're still going to have someone grandfathered in for future development. But that's okay. I'm just bringing up a point. No problem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayo. Any other discussion? All in favor of this particular agreement, would you please give me a show of hands? Any opposed? Thank you. Number 4 is a motion to approve resolution approving an agreement regarding the utilities at the Steele Memorial Library in Mount Olive.
Mr. Chairman, as you know, you and Commissioner Gurley and Commissioner Daugherty negotiated an interlocal agreement with the town of Mount Olive on sharing these costs, and this resolution approves a written interlocal agreement with the town stating that. And if you look on page 75, I'll just read the pertinent terms of the agreement. It's the town will increase the amount it contributes towards the payment of each monthly electricity bill for Steele Memorial Library from $1,000 to $1,500 effective July 1, 2015. So it'll be retroactive back to July 1. Town further agrees that said $1,500 should be increased by any percentage rate increase that the electricity company providing service shall become authorized to charge its customers in the rate category assigned to Steele Memorial Library. So in other words, if Duke Power gets a 3% increase for the rate category that Steele Memorial is assigned to, then they would take this up by 3%. And that way, because this is a long-term agreement, so it needs to have these inflationary clauses in it. Town further agrees to continue providing water and sewer service to Steele Memorial Library at no cost to the county. The county shall have no utility cost associated with the old library owned by the town. And you may have read recently, there was a news article that I believe the Mount Olive University has now leased that old building that was our old library. And this agreement shall remain in effect as long as the county operates the Steele Memorial Library branch. So as long as we have the facility open, they agree to do that. This agreement represents the entire agreement of the parties, and neither party may rely on any other considerations or understandings not set out in this agreement. It should be governed and interpreted under the laws of the state of North Carolina, and it may only be amended by mutual agreement of the parties, with said amendment being approved by further resolutions of both governing bodies. So that's the full agreement.
Mr. Chairman, I move adoption of the resolution approving an agreement regarding the utilities of the Steele Memorial Library.
You heard a motion to approve this particular agreement. Are there any discussions?
And I did want to mention the town did approve that last night as well.
Thank you. And without any other discussion, I would ask that all in favor of this particular amendment, please signify by show of hands. Any opposed?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Daugherty.
Prior to getting into our video, there has been another issue that has come up, and I think it's time that we go ahead and address our body cameras, and with the fact that we are in the process of discussing and purchasing other cameras, I think it's time that we avail ourselves of some discounts that may be offered. So I hereby make a motion that we authorize the purchase of the body cameras for the active sheriff's deputies with an appropriate budget amendment.
Well, you've heard the motion by Mr. Daugherty concerning the purchase of body cameras and the appropriate amendment that would pay for these. Are there any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Mr.
I'd like to ask Mr. Daugherty, would he include the car cams too, so they work in conjunction with each other?
Actually, we've already authorized the car
Yeah,
cams.
that's
Oh,
it.
okay.
That's been taken care of.
No problem.
And they will work in conjunction
Yes.
with them.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, let me add a couple of things. One is the sheriff has recently sent me over a policy on implementing these. I believe that's one of the things y'all had talked about, you wanted to see. The second thing is that we have actually gone out for bids on the $1,757,000 for the various equipment we were going to purchase this year. Some of that, because of the pricing, we may have some money there for this $34,000 for these. If so, we'll use it. The balance of that, we would then take out of fund balance. So we'll determine what we need and then get back with you on that and inform you if we needed to go with fund balance or not.
Thank you. Without any further discussion, all in favor of the amendment to, the motion to authorize the purchase of the body cameras, would you please give me a show of hands? Any opposed? Thank you very much. We're now down to the video from NCACC.
Hello and welcome to the County Update video for August 2015. This video is produced by the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners. Let's begin this month with an exciting program for risk pool members. One of the more challenging aspects of county government is being able to get employees together for safety meetings or training. Even at the department level, many employees are working outside of the office, and it is a rarity to have all employees in one place at one time. In addition to this, the complex and varied job duties often result in training requirements that are vastly different. For this reason, the NCACC Risk Control Team has worked over the last several years to develop new and innovative ways to deliver training to the members of the NCACC risk management pools. As counties grow in their technical savvy, these new tools are evolving right along with them. One of the main and traditional ways to provide training is through the use of video. This ensures a consistent message is delivered to many different employees and allows for someone with limited knowledge of the particular topic to still deliver relevant and accurate training content. The only disadvantage is the cost. Either one must purchase or rent the applicable video, and if it's not available when needed, the training topic has to be changed or training rescheduled. Because of this disadvantage, the Risk Control Manager began looking for other alternatives, and in July of 2013, CountyFlix was born. Through a partnership with DuPont Sustainable Solutions, the NCACC risk management pools now have access to over 200 different titles at minimal cost. Rather than having to wait sometimes weeks before receiving a needed video with any electronic device and internet access, members are now able to access any of the titles in the NCACC library. Now beginning its third year, over half of the members are now using this valuable service. Even with this tool, there are still other training topics that may not lend themselves to being trained in a group setting. These situations often involve topics that are more specialized in nature, or in situations where getting 2 or more employees together is difficult. For these reasons, our risk control team is in the early stages of developing an online training tool that will be available soon. Look for more information in the months ahead regarding this new resource for our pool members. Now let's move on to our advocacy update for the month of August. A month into the fiscal year, the General Assembly continues to work on the state budget, aiming for an August 14th deadline before the temporary budget legislators put into place expires. Disagreements between the House and the Senate on total spending, changes in sales tax distribution, and Medicaid reform are some of the main holdups to the resolution. NCACC advocacy staff is meeting with budget chairs to promote county interests in the budget, including increased mental health funding, driver's education, limiting the increase in autopsy fees paid by counties, and economic development incentives. The Senate committees have shut down, and the House is holding limited committee meetings, while budget and other negotiations are ongoing. During this time, the association is working on your goals, including 911 funding flexibility, lawsuits regarding school funding, and high-speed internet access in all regions of the state. Please continue to talk to your legislators about the importance of these budget and policy changes to counties. Annual conference is coming up in August, and here are some of the highlights you'll see at this year's conference. The keynote speaker at the 2015 NCACC Annual Conference hosts a podcast that is downloaded in nearly 130 countries and believes that every person deserves to wake up inspired to go to work and to come home at the end of the day fulfilled by the work they do. David Mead works with leaders to help them create an environment where people show up to work because they want to, not because they have to. An environment in which people are inspired to contribute to something bigger than themselves. Mead will address attendees at the opening general session on Friday, August 21st. Jim Blackburn, a successful prosecutor, appeared to be at the top of his profession based on all standard measures of success. But inwardly, Blackburn suffered from pressures that often come with that success. A drive to win at any cost, a strong desire to be all things to all people, and an underlying depression took their toll. ending his legal career suddenly and spectacularly in 1993 when a number of ethical misdeeds were discovered. Blackburn's subsequent surrender of his law license, guilty pleas to state charges, and a 3.5-year stint in state prison were well publicized in the media. He was diagnosed with a major depressive disorder and was placed under a psychiatrist's care for more than 3 years. Upon his release from prison, he began to slowly rebuild his life on a whole new path. The issues of mental illness, depression, and even suicide are topics few people enjoy discussing. Yet they are all alive and happening to people every day. In this address, Blackburn shares his story by shining a bright light in a very personal and dark corner to bring people hope, the real medicine he needed to make his life whole again. Blackburn will be speaking at the second general session on Saturday, August 22nd. For more information on speakers and events at this year's annual conference, please visit www.ncacc.org/annual conference. NACO held their annual conference right here in North Carolina. More than 2,500 elected and appointed officials got a taste of North Carolina during the 80th National Association of Counties annual conference, which was held in Mecklenburg County from July 10th through 13th. The conference culminated with an event at the NASCAR Hall of Fame, which is adjacent to the Charlotte Convention Center. Commissioner Sally Clark of El Paso County, Colorado, was sworn in as the president on the final day of the conference. Clark is the first commissioner from Colorado to hold the position. North Carolina saw a changing of the guard in its representation on the NACO Board of Directors, electing 2 new representatives. Washington County Commissioner Tracy Johnson was elected to the state's #1 seat, replacing Guilford County Commissioner Kay Cashin, who had represented North Carolina on the NACO Board for the past 6 years, but was ineligible to seek another term. The NCACC Constitution limits NACO directors to 3 2-year terms. NCACC past President Ray Jeffers was also elected to another open seat. Cashin, meanwhile, was reappointed to the NACO board with a 1-year term as an at-large member by President Clark. Well, that's all we have for this month. If you'd like more information about any of the topics we've discussed here, please visit our website at www.ncacc.org. or contact us via phone or email using the information on your screen. Thanks for allowing us an opportunity to keep you updated on what's happening with the NCACC, and thanks for your participation in our association. We'll see you next month.
Thank you, Ms. Marsh, for that video. Do we need to go back in closed session now or before?
We do, but I think I could probably handle my comments before we do that. And then you've got the 10 o'clock public comments, and then we can do that.
Oh, all right.
You want me to go ahead with my comments?
Please do.
Okay. So we have several things. One of the things I'm handing out to you is, this is an update from Noel Woods. We, as y'all remember, we took over the Pinewood Volunteer Fire Department building and equipment when that department dissolved. And so we did a invitation to bid on June 30th for all of the equipment. This is the personal equipment and also some vehicles in there. July 14th, we had a pre-bid conference, and then we had the public bid opening on July 21. If you look down the list on page 2, she gives you the list of the equipment and what we received for it. Those areas with yellow block, in the yellow block, means we did not get a bid. What we'll do now, the resolution you adopted said that we would offer these to the volunteer fire departments within Wayne County first, and that's what we did in this auction. Anything that didn't receive bids on that, that met our minimum thresholds, then we would go to Gov Deals. So we're proceeding on to Gov Deals with this. I think there's 7 pieces of equipment remaining. You'll notice we did not get bids on the 81, 87, or 2001 equipment. We had set minimum bid requirements there based on talking with someone who's in that business. But as you can see, the 81 and 87 have some age on them. So we'll proceed on with Gov Deals now. Gov Deals, as you know, goes nationwide. So we feel certain we'll be able to sell this equipment. But I just wanted to give you an update on this, that we had in fact done that, and we'll move forward with gov deals, and then we'll be through with it. The next thing I wanted to report is, unfortunately, we got word this past week that we did not get the 911 grant that we had put in for. If you remember, we tried to get a grant in order to construct a new 911 center. Only 3 of 23 in the state were approved. Tommy, did you want to add anything to it?
$11 million is what it is.
$11 million was distributed, but it only went to 3 out of 23 applications on that. So obviously, we'll just reapply next year and try to do that, because that's a considerable amount of money we would have to come up with if we don't get a grant, and we felt like we had a good proposal going in. So that's where we're at on that. The next thing, we got bids in this week. We have in the budget an installment purchase contract, $1,757,000. About $15,600 of that is the issuance cost. So we would net about $1,740,000 on that. I'm happy to report that this is for over a 59-month period. Our interest cost, the lowest bid was 1.434%. And when you add the issuance cost in, the true interest cost is 1.7591%. So we're financing this over 5 years, and the truth is those interest rates probably aren't even inflation. So I think we did extremely well on that. I think we had 9 bids, is that right, Pam? So we had a lot of interest in it. The closing will be shortly on that, but we just wanted to inform you we have taken care of that, and we're moving forward with those purchases now. Finally, just want to remind you of the retreat next Tuesday. It's at the Jeffers Building in the EOC room there, and I believe we were going to crank up at 8 o'clock, if I remember correctly. 10, excuse me, that's better.
That was quick.
Let me put that in bold type.
You can get there at 8 if you want to.
10 a.m., okay. All right, so we got that. One other thing I do want to mention, we just want to ask everybody's prayers. Our public library director, Donna Phillips, her husband Jerry is undergoing a surgery this week at University of Alabama at Birmingham. It's a surgery to receive a new kidney. And as it turns out, the match for the kidney is her sister Joy. So both will be undergoing this operation in order that he can receive a new kidney. So again, we ask for your prayers and consideration there, and just keep them in your thoughts. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. It is a little bit past 10, and this is time for public comment. Of course, limit your comments to 4 minutes. Anyone? I don't believe we have anyone wanting to make a public comment today. Would we like to go on with our individual comments, or?
Yeah.
Please, let's go on then. Mr. Gurley, would you like to start off today?
I will, Mr. Chairman. First, Gateway. Mr. Dotter will be making a few comments on Gateway as well, but I want to thank Gene Aycock, City Council, Goldsboro, who chaired Gateway last year and did an outstanding job. The board, I thought, gelled very well through the fiscal year and got a lot of things accomplished. And now, looking forward to the new slate officer, I want to announce that Brent Heath will be the chairman, Jerry Grimes will be the vice chairman, and both of those guys were on it last year with us, and they pulled their first-year term. And the treasurer will be Bob Waller. Bob is the appointment from the city of Goldsboro. And you may know Mr. Waller is a former city council member and also served on the Gateway Board, so he brings a lot of knowledge to the Gateway Board. And the first anticipated route to run from the new transfer station will be September the 21st, and everyone's looking forward to that. Wayne Moore Hospital, I've attended, I think it's 6 meetings since our last board meeting here, but basically a full throttle with the budget process and finance committee meetings and budget committee meetings along the way. And also to announce that as being appointed a new member to the watch board, I had my first meeting week before last, and as we go forward, I'll try to keep you updated on the watch program. That's all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Gurley. Mr. Mayo, would you please go next?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Most of my meetings are coming this week and next week, but we did have a Wayne County Social Services Board meeting. In that meeting, we welcomed Mr. John Best as our newest member of our board, and we thank Mr. Best for his interest in serving and welcome his comments, suggestions on matters pertaining to social services. I'm going to focus a little bit different today. You know, most of the time when you talk about social services, we hear a lot of things that's going on that's not good. Well, there's some things that's going on that's good. For example, from time to time we get a congratulation to some of our employees. Amy O'Connor, for example, in child support, she received a compliment from a client saying she appreciated her getting the job done and how pleasant she was. And Juanita Whitfield in adult Medicaid, she received a compliment from a client saying she was caring and compassionate. One of the big things that's going on in social services right now is, of course, as you know, is the Northwoods paperless system that we're working on. This is really going well. The training is starting up, but here's one of the reasons why I want to remind the listening audience and the public about why we need to do this. We are faced with an 89% increase in demand for services in DSS since 2008. And Wayne County is investing in new technology to help caseworkers and social workers manage skyrocketing caseloads, to help ensure citizens are receiving benefits in a timely manner. It will help reduce paperwork-related stress on workers, which has contributed to, not the only thing, but it has contributed to a 29% worker turnover in our DSS employment. So it hurts all of us to walk down the hallways at DSS and see people that are stressed out, working all kinds of overtimes, trying to meet deadlines for the state and federal government. And really, in some cases, you get the feeling that they don't really enjoy coming to work. We want to change that. We want to change that for DSS, because the mission of DSS is a very noble mission for people that are in need in Wayne County. Finally, I wanted to add to our library director, Donna Phillips. She and Jerry are members of our church, and it's been a long time that Jerry's been waiting for this transplant. But you know, God has a way of working out things, and the pastor, Glenn Phillips, our pastor, is going to be there along with family, and they have total confidence that God is going to work it out, that everything is going to be fine. Last night, they had the greatest attitude. We're ready to go and get it over with. So we need to keep praying for this family in the days to come, and that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Dillon?
I think several of us attended the legislative breakfast, and it was good to go, and I appreciate the chamber offering that update from our legislators. And I think the article that was stated in our local paper was correct. We are lucky. We're lucky to have some good representation, representatives in Raleigh. You know, they represent us well on the state level. many of us can kind of applaud them for doing some of the things that they've done in regards to taxes and so forth. They have lowered taxes. They have a tremendous surplus, and when a lot of people were saying, well, with that big of a change in the tax structure, would we really have a reduction or a loss in revenues? Actually, it increased. We've got improved economy and jobs, and I think a lot of that goes to the vision of our representatives in Raleigh. And so I know that often they don't get a attaboy or a thank you, and I just personally want to say thank you for the job they're doing. On Gateway, here was another change that took place a little over a year ago, and there appeared to be a lot of concern on a number of people's part that there was a new board. But today, a year later, I'm pleased to state that the profit and loss statements of Gateway have shown marked improvement. It appears that those changes were needed in our system. Shortly after being sworn in, the new board members hired a new director. They lowered the rural rates to $12 per ride. We have restored confidence in the system by the agencies that are using that system to a great extent. Ridership is up. Confidence from the riders is up. Recently, we lowered the rate charged to the riders and the rural side to $5 from $8. There have been many improvements, as well as a rebranding that is currently underway. I think you will see the full impact of that rebranding when we open the new transfer station, and that should be taking place along the middle of September. 19th of September. Please note that on the rural side, when we assumed that role a year ago, there was huge losses. This year we have just completed showed a $83,000 profit on the rural side, as well as a profit on the urban side. So I think that speaks well in regards to the new management of our Gateway system. We want to thank everybody that supported the board's decision, even though there was some question in regards to our wisdom. That said, I think that hopefully in the next year we can see hopefully some input and some ways of expanding that system to provide easier transportation for a lot of our citizens in the county. I know that many of my fellow commissioners have mentioned the fact that it would be nice to see some improvement in transportation or providing public transportation to the northern end of the county and to the southern end of the county. And hopefully we can find some ways to do that. And lastly, Mr. Chairman, I want to apologize, and I don't often apologize, but I do want to apologize for in our zeal to fund our regional agricultural convention center. Sometimes we overlook the fact that we need to reach out to our partners and to others in our community. And we evidently have done that and have stepped on some toes in regards to providing that funding. And in any way that may have hurt some relationships, I do apologize. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Darden. Mr. Bell.
I didn't have any committee meetings this month. My committee meetings start the middle of August and September. And I was going to make some comments, but since Mr. Darden so eloquently apologized to the board, I think I'll leave things the way they are.
Mr. B.
I was going to have something to say about the convention center as well. At times it's been sort of a rocky road. We didn't always agree on how we're going to get there. But I'm glad everybody, in my opinion, at this point has come to an agreement and see this as important as it is, and we move forward and still work together, and that's what we're going to do. Now I'm showing my age and how bad my memory is, Mr. Woods. The young lady sitting up here in the corner, I can't remember what her name is. She's Steve O'Haron's granddaughter. What is your name, please?
Mary Dunn.
Thank you, Mary. See, that's what happens when you start getting older. She's part of the 4-H, and she is a fine example of what 4-H brings to this county. And she interviewed me the other day as part of her project to interview a commissioner, and she's going to take your job one day.
I'm going to be on the summit with you, the one they were just talking about.
Yes.
Says August 21st and the 22nd. I'm going with you. Yeah. I'll be in the.
Yeah. But I wanted to recognize her because she's a fine young lady. She really is. I too was at the legislative breakfast, and I'm glad to see that our members of our delegation do work together. They don't always agree on all the details, but overall, I think they do a great job representing us here in Eastern North Carolina. And but Ray did a great job covering the DSS board meeting. We are very concerned about the turnover, and we're hoping that Northwoods will help alleviate part of that, but we want to look at, the whole picture. And what he failed to tell you was the group elected him chairman in the last meeting. So he's the new chair. So you can either pat him on the back or blame everything on him from now. And finally, I appreciate again the members of the Purple Heart Wayne County, Goldsboro, Wayne County Purple Heart folks being here today. What they do to recognize our combat vets is just tremendous. And I hope to see you at the First PX Church at 7 p.m. Friday night. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes. I will keep my comments rather short today. I do want to thank our Raleigh legislative delegation for the hard work that they do. And just like the positions that we take, they're not always easy, but so that calls for a special thank you to how hard they work and the great respect that we have for them collectively and individually. I also want to give a little bit of a shout out, especially, I know Mr. Daugherty alluded to this, but we are constantly working to improve and maintain working relationships with other people around the county. When I first had an opportunity to serve on this board, a young lady who I respect said to me that she hoped that I would represent everyone. And I'm not exactly sure what she meant by everyone, but everyone is everyone. And I think that's what we try to do here, is to represent everyone, and we don't all think just alike all the time. But as I've said to several of you all at different times, I know that sometimes when you make decisions and you give yourself time to wake up the next day, you may see it a little bit clearer, and sometimes you'll see it the way I see it, and I appreciate that. So thank you very much, and thank you for how I think the day has gone so far. We're running well ahead of time, and I like that. So that's my comments, and thank you very much, gentlemen. And do we need to go into closed session? I need a motion to go into closed session. I have a motion to go into closed session. All in favor, raise your hands, please.
And it's to discuss the location or expansion of businesses in Wayne County and to instruct the body on terms of acquisition of real property.
Now all raise your hands, please.
I'm sorry, who made that motion?
I did.
Thank you.
This has been a presentation by Wayne Goldsboro Television of the meeting of the Wayne County Board of Commissioners. Wayne County Commissioners meet the first and third Tuesday of each month in the Commissioners' Meeting Room on the 4th floor of the Wayne County Courthouse at 224 East Walnut Street in Goldsboro, North Carolina. For more information, the County of Wayne is online at www.waynegov.com. The mailing address is Post Office Box 227, Goldsboro, North Carolina 27533. Thank you for watching.